Corktown is the oldest surviving neighborhood in Detroit. Hello and thanks for joining us. I'm Laurel Hess, coming to you from the Detroit Historical Museum in the city's Cultural Center Historic District in Midtown Detroit, and this is COMCAST Newsmakers. Joining me now is the founder of Human Scale Studio, Chad Rochkind. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
And you have been very involved in Corktown. You live close by, you own a business there, taking a part right now and trying to see how you can further its resurgence. But folks who are not intimately familiar with what's happening there, even where it is, what's the history of Corktown and where exactly is it?
Yeah, so as you said, Corktown is Detroit's oldest neighborhood. Most people in the state would know it as the home of the former Tiger Stadium. So the corner of Michigan and Trumbull is the heart of Corktown. And so it's a place that many people throughout the state are intimately familiar with, even if they haven't been in the past 10 or 15 years.
And certainly when Tiger Stadium moved out of that area, that was a big blow economically to the area for a very long time. But what, in the last 5 to 7 years, there's been a bit of economic growth? Yeah,
we've seen a lot of restaurants and bars move into the neighborhood and receive national attention. Our neighborhood has been featured in the New York Times quite a few times. But the list of bars and restaurants, Slows, Ottava Via, Mercury Bar, Astro Coffee, Detroit Institute of Bagels, the list goes on, and we're really excited about kind of this small business resurgence that's happening in our neighborhood.
What spurred the growth? Why 5, 7 years ago did all of a sudden everybody think Corktown was the place to be?
Well, I think Slows was the real leader. It was the first one to kind of stake a claim and say that we're going to be in Corktown and be successful, and they were. And I think that gave people confidence that that things could be better. Yeah.
And so what's happening now? You've gotten to a certain point, things are rolling along pretty well, but still some hurdles, some obstacles. Where would you like to see things head in the next 2 to 3 years?
Yeah, I think the biggest obstacle for our neighborhood is the width of Michigan Avenue, which is technically a state highway, and we want it to be more of a main street. So there's 7 lanes that separate each side of the street, so that means that people can't cross safely and feel that it's a real neighborhood feeling. So a lot of our efforts in the next few years will be around making Michigan Avenue into a complete street, which means that it honors motorists, cyclists, and pedestrians, and that people feel comfortable strolling along Michigan Avenue from downtown all the way to 96 as easily as possible.
So basically right now it sort of cuts Corktown, the neighborhood, in half, and you would sort of like to see it walkable where it's sort of bringing those two sides together.
Yeah, so if you actually go down to Corktown, you'll see there's historic structures on one side and modern structures on the other, and that's because the freeway was expanded in the late 1930s. What we really want to do is bring back that historic Main Street feeling on Michigan Avenue, one that caters to the needs of residents and visitors alike.
So how do you do that? You're in the middle of a process. Is it just starting? Is it just ending? I know you're gathering information.
Yeah, so the Corktown Economic Development Corporation has identified Michigan Avenue as one of its main priorities. Over the next year, we'll be putting together a complete streets master plan, which means we'll be working with residents and a number of different stakeholders at the local, state, and federal level to come up with a plan for how to make Michigan Avenue into this main street that we all want it to be. Nobody thinks that Michigan Avenue as it currently exists works for anybody. So that's a real opportunity to rethink this really important asset for our community.
Exciting times in all of the downtown area, especially it sounds like in Corktown. Would love to see what it looks like if you're able to do that in 5 to 7 years, but why should people visit today?
People should visit today because it's one of the most fun neighborhoods in Detroit. As I mentioned, all of those different businesses, if you go in, they're completely packed. So even though we don't necessarily have this walkable environment that we all really want, if you go on the street, it doesn't necessarily look like there's much going on. If you go into the businesses, they're full of life and full of energy. And most of them are owned by local people. So it's small businesses, the local economy, and this independent spirit that's driving Corktown forward. It's not a big chain that's coming in and dictating things. It's people who live in and are invested in the neighborhood.
And then really quickly, not to get off topic, but housing, are people moving down to that area as well?
Yeah, like downtown and midtown, we have about a 95% occupancy rate of our available residential units. And if what I have heard is true, there will be new developments coming forward in the next few years.
Awesome, great news. Congratulations on hopefully spurring it even more forward. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
Today's COMCAST Newsmaker was Chad Rochkind, the founder of Human Scale Studio.